Hello, I'm Matt and welcome to Badger Workshop. Yes, before you say anything, there is a bit of surface rust on my saw that I need to clean up. One of the problems with getting a new saw is none of your jigs work anymore and I need to make a new picture frame or mitre sled. This saw doesn't have standard mitre slots, so previously I've made hardwood runners. But one of the nice things about revisiting projects is you can think of different ways of doing them again. So I picked up some of these strips of aluminium. They were slightly too wide, but with a bit of sanding they fitted perfectly. I've got a nice bit of birch plywood I've left over from another build, and that's going to act as the bed of my sled. So I want to put the runners into these slots, but I want them to be slightly proud of the top so I can glue them on. Washers would work well, but 5p pieces fitted perfectly in these slots. So the track goes in and it just sits slightly proud of the top of the saw, and then I can get some super glue or CA glue on them. Then I can get the bit of ply in place. I'm going to line it up against the fence and the bottom of the saw so it's roughly square, but that's not particularly important. Previously I would have put one bit of railway line above each runner, but stupidly I gave a piece away, so I'm going to use some Stanley cases as a weight. CA glue doesn't take long to set up, but I probably gave it half an hour just to be safe, as it's very easy to knock a rail as you take it out. For a more permanent fixing, I'm drilling through the rails into the ply and then countersinking the holes. I can then put some screws in and I want them to sit as flush as possible, but the rails don't actually sit in the bottom of the tracks, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem either way. I need some fences for this sled, so I ripped down 4 strips of this plywood, and then I can laminate 2 strips together. Well, 2 strips together twice. And these are going to act as the fences. While I glue these up, I take my time to really get them clamped up nice and level, so that I don't have to spend the time later trimming them flush. When the glue had dried, I could cut a slot halfway through the sled. Off camera, I used the mitre gauge that came with the saw just to put a 45 on one end of one of the fences. It's not necessary, it's purely aesthetic. Here you can see I've got a 12-inch speed square up against the blade. This is not an ideal tool for this, as it's probably not that accurate and it doesn't sit flush because of the lip at the end. But getting this fence at 45 to the blade is not actually the important bit. That's coming up later. So you can see I use the railway line to hold it in place, and then I can slide it through the blade, trimming off the excess. Now this is the important bit. Both fences need to equal 90 degrees. Now I can attach the second fence using this square to make sure they're a perfect 90. I'm just gluing them on with some wood glue for now, holding them in place with my trusty bit of railway line. And then I'm going to come back in a second and put some screws in. Well, I say a second, I'll probably give it a couple of hours so the glue's nicely set up. The wood glue's probably strong enough, but I'm just going to drive some wood screws in to make sure nothing moves. One more thing I'm going to add is just a little safety device. You're probably never going to push the blade all the way through the fence because there's no need to do that, you've cut the thing in front of the fence. But just to be extra safe, I've just made this little block. I'm going to stick it in there so if you do push it through and the blade comes out, you won't put it into your hand. Other times I've made sleds, I've made stop blocks for them, all homemade affairs so I can repeat the cuts. This time I'm going to use some track and a stop I got off Amazon. I will put links down below. So first I'll just cut a 45 on the end of the track. Then I can attach it to one of the fences. If I feel the need, I can add a second track to the other fence, but I think this will be fine. It came ready drilled with some holes, so I just had to screw it down in place. I also got this little aluminium flip stop from Amazon that works very well. So that's it all done really. You could add a ruler, but I'm happy just to use a tape measure. So let's have a go with it. So you do the first cut using the first fence, and then I can flip it round, against the stop and make the second cut. The key for this to work is that on every corner you've got one piece cut on the first fence and one piece cut on the second fence, so it always adds up to a perfect 90. And that's it all done really. I'm pretty pleased with these joints, and next time I'm going to actually make something with it. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more videos.